Growing up in California, my parents raised both my sister and I in very liberal households. From the start, I was raised on the belief that I should always be accepting of all people, no matter their political beliefs, the color of their skin, or sexual orientation. Both of my parents grew up in Republican households, but as they moved to California, their beliefs shifted towards becoming Democratic. My mom remembers what it was like before moving to California.
One of the things that my parents were, I guess, not really concerned, but just wanted to let us know would be that there was a possibility that we would be living in a neighborhood with people from different cultures and races. One of the biggest things that I remember them talking about was being concerned about growing up in a neighborhood where there might be Mexican families.
My mom grew up in Missouri, where she lived in an area with absolutely no diversity. While living in an all-white area, she also remembers hearing many slurs against the LGBTQ community.
That because it was the unknown. I mean, we went from Michigan to Indiana to Missouri, and like I said before, we didn't live in any neighborhoods that had a lot of diversity.
Her entire family was extremely Republican and conservative. When they announced their move to California, a lot of her extended family disapproved.
I know that my dad's side of the family thought it was just such a big joke to be living so close to San Francisco because that's where all the gay people lived. And that was kind of a thing.
Although her parents remained Republican, moving to California allowed my mom to become much more open to different points of view.
I probably think that it opened my eyes up to a lot of different ways of looking at the world. Moving here to California opened my eyes up to different cultures, different races, different people, different ideas, super conservative and super liberal. I mean, here in California you can find just about every way of thinking.
Ultimately, my mom believes that her move to California, and not necessarily the area she grew up in, is what made her become so liberal, and therefore raised my sister and me the way we are. While talking further, we also discussed why she believes California is so liberal in the first place.
You know, that's an interesting question. There's a lot of theories. I'd like to look at it more historically. If you think about the development of the United States, you know, everything started on the East Coast. And as North America opened up and as the United States grew, everything moved west. And I think that people who were a little more adventurous, a little bit more dynamic, going from, say, St. Louis, Missouri, in a covered wagon all the way to San Francisco, I don't know, I'd like to think that those people who came here first and who settled here were of a different mindset maybe than they were back east.
Like my mom, my best friend Amanda grew up in a similar way. Amanda's parents and extended family, although not being extremely conservative, are Republican and raised her with Republican values. As she got older, Amanda started forming her own liberal opinions.
They totally are accepting towards a bunch of people and races and stuff, but they mostly agree with the financial part of being Republican. And
throughout the years, Amanda was able to create her own opinions about politics.
I've kind of changed because I mean, everyone kind of thinks their parents are these ideals of wisdom, but you kind of have to go off on your own and see what you think is right. And so at first I started with kind of just thinking the same things that my parents thought, and then now I kind of believe a little bit of the opposite.
She also remembers what it was like growing up in a Republican family, especially the way certain topics were addressed in their household.
It was mostly hearing the way my parents and grandparents were talking. The fact that I would talk to my grandparents and they would be racist all the time, and that made me think it was connected to them being Republican, and so that's what made me think maybe this isn't right for me.
Although many of our beliefs are based upon where we grew up, it definitely doesn't have to stay that way. Both my mom and Amanda are great examples of this change. Even though both grew up in conservative families, each decided to go their separate ways. Even though you grew up one way, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to live the rest of your life in that same manner.